Hey guys, Jake with HHA. In this video, we're gonna cover how to sight in your new XV3. So first thing you'll notice when you grab the sight out of the package, it's gonna come in two pieces. You're gonna have a frame and you're gonna have a scope. New this year, we're assembling all scopes with the infinite adjust plate flipped to the outside. So for those of you that are shooting a pick mount, or if you're shooting a bridge lock option on a Matthews bow, that plate will already be flipped for the extra windage. If you're gonna shoot the sight on the side of the riser with either our standard dovetail mount or on a fixed mount, you'll wanna flip that infinite adjust plate to the inside of the riser. Before you go ahead and sight in your XV3, we're just gonna run you through a couple of quick tips on how to make adjustments on the new XV3. So you'll notice that there's 3 adjustable vertical pins. There's 3 tapped holes where you'll actually stick an Allen key in there to loosen each individual pin. Then you'll come in with an Allen wrench from the bottom and you'll be able to turn the pins up and down clockwise or counterclockwise. When you are adjusting the lock mechanism on the side of the pins, you're not taking out more than a quarter turn. All 3 pins are gonna come preset from the factory right in the middle, so that way you have adjustment to go either up or down with all 3 pins. I personally like to keep that top pin right where it's at. It sits in a good place in the housing for my sight picture. So before I go ahead and sight in, I'm gonna get those pins kind of centered where I see fit. So you definitely wanna start with the top pin. Step number 1 for the sight in on the XV3 is gonna be to shoot at 20 yards with the top pin. So your adjustment with the top pin at 20 yards can come in a couple different ways. First one being the way you would traditionally move your top pin when sighting in at 20, which is by adjusting the scope housing itself on the infinite adjust rail. You can loosen the 2 Allen keys up on the rail and slide that housing up and down. You can also physically adjust the top vertical pin and move that up and down. For our purposes today in sighting in, I'm gonna leave that top pin exactly where it's at just because of where it kind of sits in my sight picture. It's slightly above center, and that's just kind of where I want to leave that top pin. So as we shoot at 20 yards, it's really critical that you leave your yardage wheel and setup tape at 0. The whole idea is we want to bottom out our 20-yard mark at 0 to get the maximum amount of distance out of our sight. So now that we have the top pin sighted in at 20 yards, now we're going to back up and we're going to shoot 60 yards with the top pin. So really important to note with any of our sights, whether it's a single pin or a multi-pin, you are only using the top pin to get your sight tape. So a little bit of a cheat code that I use when I jump back and I shoot at 60 yards, I know that my sight tapes usually always land within about 5 tapes of 50. I would say if you're shooting north of 60 pounds and you're shooting about a 450 grain arrow, give or take 25, 30 grains, I would start by moving your setup tape to 50. If you don't feel comfortable jumping all the way back to 60 yards, we recommend you just shoot intermediate distances, so like 30, 40, 50, while slowly rotating that sight back to make sure you're on target. So I have a pretty good group low left. The left I think is probably just me falling off a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move my tape up to 51 and I'm just gonna shoot a couple there and see what that looks like. Good, just maybe a touch left, which I can figure that out as I go. But I'm gonna confidently say that I am sight tape number 51. So we're gonna go down, pull arrows, come back, and then we'll show you guys how to apply your sight tape on either the Nitrix Pro or the Nitrix. So now that I am fully sighted in at 20 and 60 yards, I'm gonna lock my yardage wheel down at 51 because that's where I was for 60 yards. So I'm gonna lock that yardage wheel down at 51 and we're now gonna show you how to apply your sight tape. This is the only real difference between the Nitrix and Nitrix Pro sight-in process is how you apply the sight tape. So on the Nitrix Pro, I'm gonna lock the yardage wheel down at 51. I'm gonna pop the yardage wheel off and I'm gonna take a new yardage wheel that comes with the sight. So each Nitrix Pro is gonna come with 2 yardage wheels. Lock that wheel down, take the extra spool, go into my sight tape package and apply sight tape 51. And I'm gonna mount the new wheel onto the hub at 60 yards because I had it locked down at 51. So it's just super crucial that you lock your sight down where your 60-yard mark was, and 60 yards on your new sight tape should reflect that once you put the wheel on. The best way to know if you've done this correctly, loosen that yardage wheel back up once it's screwed on there, and then roll your sight all the way to the top. If you've landed at 20, you've correctly sighted in your new Nitrix Pro XV3. On the Nitrix version of it, there's no removable yardage wheel. So what you'll do is you'll lock that sight down at your sight tape numbers, and you'll just simply apply that tape right over the top of the setup tape. So now that we have our top pin fully sighted in from 20 to 100 plus yards, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back and we're gonna shoot the distances that we wanna set our second pins at. And the distance that I've seemed to really prefer for my pin gaps is 35 and 45 yards for my second pins. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot the second pin at 35 yards, and I'm gonna shoot the bottom pin at 45 yards. I'm gonna do this while leaving my yardage wheel locked all the way at the top, so at my 20, and I'll make all my adjustment from here on the individual pins themselves. So coming in from the side of the housing, loosening the side lock screw, and then coming in from the bottom using the drive screw and adjusting that pin up or down. So once I have those two pins, the second and third pins fully sighted in at 35 and 45 yards or whatever yardage you desire, the next and final step is going to be to go over to your yardage wheel, and you're going to adjust those indicators to match the pins in your housing. So for my scenario, I'll just simply move my second and third indicators to 35 and 45 yards. Once I'm fully sighted in, I'll have a sight that reads 20, 35, 45, and anywhere that I dial that sight, I will have 3 movable, adjustable vertical pins. If you have any questions on the sight-in method, feel free to shoot us an email at info@hjsports.com. You can visit our website or our YouTube channel, or you can give our office a call and we'd be more than happy to walk you through it. We greatly appreciate your support of HHA, and congratulations on your new purchase of an XV3.